Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. It's been a really wonderful time seeing so much artwork and meeting new people, visiting print shops and studios. And thank you for everyone, the curatorial team, and also meeting Pratibha. I've seen your artwork in the print shop archives, so it's so nice to meet you finally, and of course, Devraj. Great, so I'm going to keep this brief, but I would like to create a sort of narrative, historical context of the founding of the printmaking workshop through Robert Blackburn. And I don't know how many of you have heard of Robert Blackburn, but so if you already know him, sorry if it's going to be repetitive, but Robert Blackburn was born in 1920 in the United States by Jamaican immigrant parents. He was raised in the center of one of the most historical cultural moments in modern history, known as the Harlem Renaissance. This was a Black arts movement full of intellectual rigor and cultural collaboration, including writers, poets, jazz musicians, sculptors, painters, and more. As a child, Bob would take art classes at the studio of prominent Black artists, and later continued his studies at this government-funded programs through the New Deal during the Great Depression, and that's where he learned stone lithography. These gathering spaces were key to his vision of creating a community print shop, built on skill sharing, high craft, and experimentation. This is a slide of a lithograph he made when he was 18 years old, titled Refugees, AKA People in a Boat. It's actually on display right now in an exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, an exhibition, Art for the Millions, American Culture and Politics in the 1930s. The style of this is rendered in a way that was very popular during this time in the States, the New Deal work. And a lot of his work as a student, he was publishing in his school journal. He continued his studies at the Art Students League, where he met his mentor and supporter of the printmaking workshop, Will Barnett. They experimented with color lithography at one point using over a dozen stones, which is clearly unheard of and ridiculous, but they were experimenting. They weren't concerned with additioning. They were using multiple stones, counter-etching, switching out colors. So a lot of Bob's works, a lot of them aren't addition and exactly the same. He's always changing out the color, switching it out. Okay, so this is, as he's working in the print shop, he's not making money, so he has to have work, jobs. So one of his jobs was working at Universal Limited Artist Editions. You can see here, he was their first master printer. There weren't a lot of people here in the States, sorry, not here, here we're in India, but not a lot of people who knew how to print lithography, and there wasn't that much interest. They didn't see it as fine art, so Bob was the only person they could find at that time who could then be the master printer. And the work on the left is his. It's actually dated 1960 through 74 because there's multiple versions of this. But he printed the first 79 editions, a lot of well-known modern American artists. And then Rauschenberg on the right, that's the print that really put US printmaking on the map. But this is at the time where Warhol's also using printmaking, but referencing print media and commercialism or consumerism. And I have a lot of thoughts about this print, but there's a lot of writing on it too, so you can look it up. It's Rauschenberg, The Accident. But I wanted to show the detail of abstraction and photographic printed material. I also thought it was interesting there are people in a boat, maybe the refugees. But I wanted to include this also with Devraj's litho stone here. It's printed to the edge, and you can see there's also this is from '68, and I do think it's important, the timing of printers being able to take risks and not just have, just the perfect print, but to experiment and then to stretch the material and the medium. After 7 years of working at ULAE, he was also teaching at major colleges, universities. He was setting up the print studios there too. He was then able to basically leave ULAE, that print studio where he was employed, and just fully put his time into the printmaking workshop, get grants and funding to have workshops outside of the studio. It was important to him to have young kids have access to art. A lot of these children probably weren't having art classes at all. And it also created jobs for the people teaching these workshops too, so that was important. He also brought artists into his studio from over 60 countries. We're still counting, but right now it looks like over 60 countries are represented in our collection. And it's so fun taking his class because after the first weekend, the second weekend, you actually see you're making art. We're still teaching classes outside the studio as well. We have, I don't know if you can see Devraj, but the next slide you can see it up close. We're working with printing outside. We do a lot of street fairs too. These are free public events. We probably have about 8 to 12 a year, especially in the summer. Again, in the studio, he's taught a lot of artists lithography, but then also he's trained some printers. So on the right, we see Jasmine Karasus. She's one of the master printers at the studio. And she learned lithography from Devraj. So. And then, of course, again, collaborating with an artist, playing, he's always, this artist is interesting because she'll always give him something weird to print on, like the paper, or it'll even be a balloon. And then, of course, Devraj is making his own work there. And we have exhibitions. You can see here, we had a show with Devraj last year. It was incredible. We included he brought in so many prints. I was like, it doesn't fit, but it fits here so well. Wonderful show. He has a shirt, and someone made a shirt with Devraj's face on it, so I thought it was kind of cool because usually you see like rock and roll stars, not necessarily printmakers, so.
What is the print? How is print so popular in states, or in other countries? Then we have it here.
Yeah, I think the question. I don't know. I was still thinking about making prints or from not just like the 1%. And I guess for Bob Blackburn, he had to make it nonprofit because there wasn't a huge collector base for Black artists, and yeah, and it was just. The only way, he was always about to shut down, right? You could probably talk about that too. You knew him as well. Yeah. So he was always in fear of shutting down and, getting these electricity bills, like the lights are gonna be turned out. But I would say that it's popular because even what Bob Blackburn would do is say, he would go to, a jazz club and he'd be like, you're an artist? Or, you're a musician, he didn't care. And he was just like, you should come make a print in the shop. So I think it's just being able to have a space that is open to people. But also you do need materials, but you can work with a limitation. One of, I think, most important printmakers, Elizabeth Catlett, she worked at Taller Grafica in Mexico. And she mostly worked with woodcuts, and then when she would come into New York, she would then make her lithographs with Bob Blackburn. So we have a quite good collection of her lithographs, but people know her wood blocks. So I do think that even with a limited access to materials, that you can find some way of printing. But I think it's just it has to be a dynamic person like Devraj. Who gets excited about print, and then they're excited about their prints. They tell their friends, yeah, I made this after 4 classes. Look what I made. Everyone's showing off their prints. And so, I think even with the artists that work with him, that aren't just students, but they show off their prints, and it's, I need to work with Devraj, So I think once you're around someone that has that kind of excitement and thrill like Bob Blackburn did, Devraj has, I think I have it. Yeah, I think so. You need to be around people that want to share it, and then it becomes popular, I think. Yeah.
So another question was, not a question, I just want to refer, when I was at the print workshop there, working at Bob Blackburn's workshop, then I found that most of the many of the artists came with funds. Like I remember Patricia had a fund to work with Devraj. And this kind of things we don't still exist over here. We were just talking the other day that the foundations now, which are now more in the art circle, can help, bringing out. I remember in Baroda, they used to bring small portfolios or some print, but they are not really that, like when you do the collaboration with an artist, they have the whole process of addition, curating, editing. That doesn't happen. I mean, it's okay. We put AP, we put SP, we put anything, and next year also you will find reprinted. Here we have a cancellation of plane. The printmakers, I mean to say, mostly would just take out help making. It is a good way to kind of bring the prints in the market. Sort of. But it never really picked up to that extent. And the professionalism of print, which Devraj can talk about.
So my experience is a master printer. My title about this exhibition, I think. This is a master printer is because of I started working in the Lalit Kala Academy as a looking at the print studio in charge, and then I was maintaining the studio. That is okay, but as a master printer, how is a functioning in a mostly a printing edition is a big challenging. So I'll give a little introduction about how I was going through some problem about as an artist, as a printmaker, working in the Gadi studio, taking care of a studio discipline. But one day, Sri M.F. Hussain came, and he was to have some prints with me and to print his edition of his work. Because I seen his early work, some of the prints done by Robert Blackburn Studio, some edition done, almost 50 edition, very colorful lithographs. But he thought, this studio, Gadi studio can be made same kind of things. Then I was told about him, sir, this studio is only beginner people they are working. The way you expecting, the way you did your prints in Robert Blackburn studio. So we don't have that professionalism in my print shop in Gadi. Only people just come and work, experimenting. So that is what I see. But he was very disappointed. Then I was feeling guilty about myself. As a senior artist come to me and I can't help him. So that is what I felt. Then I realized that I must find out what is the system of a master print making. What is the system? That is the only, I gone through London, I studied printmaking, but we don't have that. I don't have an experience of that master print making core, how the master printer working with a collaborating work. So that was the thing that started my mind. Then I have a chance to go to America in 1986, Festival of India. That time I was looking for some studios. They do the professional prints for artists, collaborating with different artists. So that's why I was interested. Later on, I started, come back to India, then I saw Tamrin Institute, is one of the lithograph studio. They teach about how to make an edition with a collaboration. What are the problem you face? What are the things in that? So I read on the detail about syllabus and things. So when I came back, then I went back to America and to study printmaking about Tamrin and the collaboration, how to do. So that I come to as a master printer training. So this is what I started my career as a printmaking. But in this time, I thought, I know everything about printmaking, lithograph. I know so many years I work on lithographs, not only 1966 to up to 70, more than 10 years I work. But I don't know much about how to handle the collaboration with the artist. That is what challenging for me. So then during the course, they teach you what are the materials required for your art, then how to deal with the artist. This is the tamarind. Was a Jaf Sipley is one of the master teacher. That is, he was very thorough about it technically. He knows everything. He made a syllabus about this much thick book to go through that whole year book. How to make a paper, how to soon know the paper, how to the ink is then, how to dealing with the artist, how artist, suppose problem comes, how to solve the problem. These are all the things I never have a chance to do. Only thing I used to do my own self. But sometime I did some work with Ramachandran. He wanted to make some books about his. Then I did some edition, but not exactly what professional people they work on the print. So that is a tamarind. They teach you the material. What is the material required for printing? What is the paper is required for printing? What are the material to draw particular crayons which is required? So that is what I come to know. So I had a little experience about the one. We did some course. Of course, when I finished one subject, what you call subject, then he did go into see my prints, how many prints you did. They talk about 10 prints you take. So each print he is thoroughly watching, he is marking. This is wrong, this is the right, this is the wrong. He used to cross that. So then I come to know this is how delicate things you have to observe as a printer. So we never thought that part. So, but these are small things. It matters how getting the good prints. That is what I can learn. But this is a very interesting part. This tamarind is one of the institute. Only they give the training about lithograph only, no other. But lithograph, how to use the material, what are the stone, which stone is good, which is not stone. So we think only the lithograph stone means okay, that's fine. But lithograph stone, not one stone, is a yellow stone, gray stone, pink stone. But I never heard of before that. But in the books also they mention, but never think about seeing the physically. But when you start working, making edition, what problem you face, which is the stone is right for printing. That is what I come to know this training during the period. So that I learned a lot of things about how collaboration done with. But collaboration is easy. But during the collaboration, we have some training. So we invite some artists to come and he draw on the plate or stone. Then we have to print his work. So edition has to make according to the instructor. He showed me 25 edition. 25 edition is the right paper. Which paper is the right paper? There's a lot of papers, different company, they're making papers. But which paper is right for that image? So that is has to learn. So which paper is out of both paper images taken, then which is the best that you are select for edition for that. So that was I come to know learn. But these are small things. But even though I seen some senior artists, they gone through research on the material. The material is a really interesting part, but we never have a chance to that kind of experience in my college. Even though I was in London, also I don't have that kind of experience. But during the course, which I've gone through, all material, how the functioning the material, how to use, even the Xerox toner. The Xerox toner is a simple powder, but how to use the lithograph. But what is the requirement? That is also done by one of the artists, did research on that part, using the Xerox toner. But I never heard before that. So that kind of things going through experience with a master printing course. For 1 year, we have to work day and night to get the good result. But when you're printing, but the teacher said, out of 25 prints, he select only 5 prints good. So during the really we come to, I said, I know this, every print is same. Why you only selected 5 prints? So that is about, you have to know what master print has to be. So that is what I experienced. But I'll talk to later about this, about how, then after I finishing my 1 year, then I came to NYU, Krishna Reddy, he invited as a residence program. During that time, I come to the print shop, Robert Blackman studio in 1993. So that time, Bob was a great teacher, admirer of our artist. He's a good human being, and he's a very kind to artist also community. So then I learned a lot of things from him. During this period, one artist I working, this is one of the Michi Itami. She was professor in the City College. She got some grant to came to the Bob studio. She is a very close friend of Bob also. Bob told me that, Sir Devraj, she wanted to do some prints. So you came from the Tambourine, you know that. So then I said I was really panic about handling her work. So then she did some black and white images on the Photoshop. Then she made a positives. Then actually I make a dual print on a black and white. That is the first experience, how black and white can be done dual printing. Mostly commercial printers, they do that dual printing. But here I learned how to use the dual printing, ink, how much you require, how much you modify the ink. So that is a challenge also. Then I did edition of 25, but it's really, I gone through so painfully. I made success that print. Then after that, she made a color on Photoshop, 4-color separation. So then I did some good prints. But again, I'm telling you, but during that period, the paper is the right paper that I was taking in the BFK, Reeves, then again going to the Somerset, then I Fabiana. But out of 3 paper, which is a good result, then I find the one BFK. So BFK is a right, then I was using for edition for that. So like that, but one during this particular prints, there's a trial proof. When I using when I working with the collaboration, when artist has to be satisfied. So satisfied means the one, when I take one proof, when he see that, okay, but then he said, okay, let's see one more color, how it looks like. So in this process, I have to work with the artist. So in between, there's a proof, there's a test proof. If the one is right, but next is a second test proof, like a third. Then if he is approved, then only going to be BFK. BFK means the Bonetore. There's like a French word. During the impression artist, they're doing the experimenting the prints. They are to make edition. They're working with the master printers. They are to write. Once he's satisfied for going for edition, then BAT write, then he sign, then he go for edition.
Can I ask you a question? With Indian print shops that you see today, and obviously you start your own, and you can maybe, I don't know, do you think that the problems that you were just seeing when you had your studio and maybe what's happening today, that maybe there's artists who have their own presses, but are there people, who have training like you did and made sure to then publish artists or work with maybe galleries who then will fund a publication? Like Patricia's a sculptor that does outdoor sculptures, so that kind of, the print is a fundraiser for her larger sculptural work, but there are galleries that, so I don't know, can you, and then also you as well, if you have some thoughts about that.
No, but in India, mostly when we started Atelier 221, so that time quite a number of artists, they came and worked here. But only the artists, they paying money and they're working, but they don't have any fund to come and work in our studio. So that's why I can see some of the senior artists like Ghulam Mohammad Sheikh, he came, Manu Parikh came, Madhavi Parikh also they came, like Manjula Padmanabham also she came, and she's an illustrator, but she came a lot of, she experimented in intaglio and lithograph also. But even though when I was doing the same, following the rules and regulation, They also get surprised. What is a BAT? What that? Even was the first proof. Then I said it's not right, but to go for.
Does everyone here know what a BAT is?
So BAT is one of the bonetore. It's a French word, but only what I mentioned in the early days. All the senior French artists, they're working editions, not small edition. They are making edition more than 200, maybe 150 edition, but identically has to print, because when you start printing of an edition, you have to look up what you have done, proof that you have to make every detail and gone through that first print, BAT. So then go for edition that. So then you're going switch to the 25 or maybe for 50 edition, you have to be there. Then you're taking a number of prints. Maybe 50 edition means you have to take at least 60 prints. So 60 print, you may be rejecting few also. In that, there is a one technical part, is that every 10 prints going to be artist proof. Not people mostly we write as everything is artist proof here in India. Even though in America also they do the same thing, even Europe also. But every 10 prints is a good print, that's the artist proof. So artist has to select out of 10 prints, one we pick up, then rest is going to be edition. But rest of the edition also good prints, but artist very sensitively observing what is the density, ink, color, other things.
What about you? You have any thoughts about Indian contemporary print shops or how they exist?
So, as far as I have the knowledge about the print workshops in India, and some of them which I have visited, there is one in, after Atelier, people question that, that why is your Atelier 221 known as the only print workshop for collaborations? And I had to tell them that, that this kind of print workshops all over Europe, even in Russia, even in America, even in China, there are several such print editions have been running for years together. Because Devraj did the course of the Tamarind and understood how to make the additional professionally, to make a market of prints. It's not like an art, just like a painting, but a market of prints. And most of these studios over here, I'm glad that, the passion in the printmakers here, that they want to open their own studio. Don't have the materials first, which are required, and it becomes very expensive every time to kind of, get those materials from abroad, as we did it. All the materials at the atelier were coming from London, whether it was paper, whether it was ink, whether it was even some of the liquid basic technical things. But here, that would be very difficult. So they just manage, to bring out their own prints. There is hardly any collaboration, And, but still, there is this whole, always the printmakers themselves don't understand when we say master printer, There is a reason for saying that why he is a master printer. And the printmakers who make prints, they usually make it like, I can do my own prints. I can pull out, but I would not be a professional printmaker, definitely. I mean, I will not even do the curating or the editing to that extent. I mean, just as Devraj said, I would write AP1, AP2, AP3, and make a small edition of 10, or that's the most. But there, I have seen editions of 250, 300, and all hand. It's not manual. It is all done by hand. So that is something which we still lack. And I think if that comes, if any foundations or any other institute comes in to kind of set up such a workshop, I'm sure then there will be a better print market. And as I said, my main reason was having, just like Ravi Verma did, having affordable prints, a good quality prints of contemporary art in houses rather than painting.
There's, all of that, yes. But there is this letter in the exhibition from the printmaking workshop. M.F. Hussein, I believe, was mentioning a cultural exchange between artists in India and the U.S. And I was like, oh, yes. I feel like when I read that, I hadn't seen it before. I was like, oh, okay, I got to figure out how we can make this happen.
Yeah,
But
because there are lots of lots of artists, senior artists who have gone on the cultural exchange programs. The painters have gone to France and everywhere, and even in printmaking, it is possible. People have gone to London also, but collaboration is one where we kind of miss the point. Like if an Indian artist is called all the way to collaborate at your workshop, that would be something I would look forward. Not only learn or just enjoy print class or print making, just like.
I think that's a very, very important now. This is time of the India printmaking world. So this is suppose some fund, some people are there to invest to set up the studio. That is a very kind of a really good gesture. But come to the point, so that, okay, some tomorrow we have made a studio, like professional studio, like a Bob studio, what we saw. The same kind of thing we set up, okay. But we need some kind of marketing also. That is what we're lacking in this country. And one other thing is a gallery also is a very important role. Most of the gallery, they go for paintings or sculpture, original work. But they never think about educating of the print also, original work of art. But they think, after all, this is a print. But that's not the right way. Most of the known artists in America, Europe, they did painters, sculptors, they made a prints. But there's a market also. But that market so far, we are not made in our country, not educated. That is what's going on. But suppose the gallery showing some prints, then the people come to know how this is also print original work. Suppose there's a museum, of course, there's also we need some place to show the prints room. But we don't have that kind of. When you go to the Europe and America, there's the prints rooms are there. But we don't have. So maybe tomorrow some financing, somebody comes, they may be making a special gallery for prints or museum can be done. That is what now we say this Kiran Nadar, she got so much money, but she never made any print room also. But like other museum, like Bharat Bhavan, of course they created 10 biennales and they set up the workshop also, but they never success on that part. This my exhibition is almost a big retrospective exhibition. It started from my career at 60 as a printmaking. Before also I started painting. I started my career as an artist, as a student. Then this big challenging for me to coming to this place. And actually the National Gallery Modern Art is one of the important museum. And that's also a very interesting part. They are doing a lot of educational part, also important. And then today I'm going to show you how monoprint can be done, because we can't do the like lithograph or etchings and woodcut because there's a lot of time consuming. Because our today how the printmaking done with the simplify in the monoprint. So monoprint, this is used by, this is kind of a plastic plexiglass. And this is one, it looks like that, is a smooth. And after that, you have to take little sandpaper, rough one, and just to grind this sandpaper. And then after that, you take this sandpaper, the finest one, 1000, make it a little more smoother. After that, just to apply gum arabic. Then after gum arabic, it dries. Then you can start using the watercolor. The watercolor, the way you paint on the paper, you can use the same manner on this. But don't use too much water also. But that you can use it, but very minimal, they can make it. The colors is to be used, this kind of colors. And we have different colors, you can try and experiment on that. So I show you how it can be done. You have to check it, how is the gum arabic is dissolved. The crystal form, you can put little water, then you can check it like that, it's sticky, then you can start using. as much thin you can make it. Don't make it so thick. So you can touch it. It's not sticky. So it's almost dried. So then you can use a watercolor. These are dry pastels. Is water soluble. Okay, this is what I'm going to show you how. It's almost dried. It's fine. Now I want to work on top of this. So now I can print this. Okay, this is we're done, but you want to work on this another method. There's an image is still is there little bit. You can develop little bit more with you can again try with watercolor, and the same time you can use the crayons also. So this is actually crayons actually I got from America, but we get some kind of a water soluble pencils. Camel company they making, but Camel people they used to make this one, but they stopped I think. So I think pencil you can get that. You can water soluble. So Tedler is a very expensive, but it's a Swiss company. This is but Camel is our local. You can use it, and there are all the colors are we have different colors. So this is you can use the mixing the colors on that glass, and you start working on the first start making a sandpaper edges to be, because edges is very important, because my is a very expensive blanket. I not want to damage this artist work. So that is the one saving the blanket, that you make it little edges, little blunt. Then after that use the sandpaper, the thick one, and afterwards the fine one you can use it. And then gum, Arabic, you have to be very careful about when you're applying. So my students can help you for here to, okay? You start now taking one plate. Any question?
you.